Yay! Yes, she is on fire. She is me. She is you. She's all of us. So thank you, ladies, for being another day here. We are on a mission to help 1 million women create wealth through real estate while fostering personal, professional, and spiritual growth. So welcome. Buckle up. We have an amazing session. I've been waiting for this session for months and months. Almost, I think it's been over a year, but just buckle up, get ready. We're live on Facebook. For those who are watching on Facebook, the link is there, so you can come to the Zoom and ask questions and engage with all of us. A little disclaimer: we're a commercial real estate investment firm. Every investment has risk, so you do your due diligence. Every speaker that we bring offers different services or products. We do not endorse any of them. We bring them because we love what they're doing. We want to learn from them. So do your due diligence as well. A little bit about Massive Capital. We are a commercial real estate investment firm. We have a portfolio of 1,600 units in multifamily across Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, and Colorado. And today we're really going to talk about what it is to manage a portfolio from another part of the world. So buckle up. We also do new construction for retail centers. We have a combined portfolio of over $500 million. I'm super excited to do that. And just breaking news. You guys are the first to know this part. I'm honored that I'm gonna be building the land division for Massive Capital. So I'm gonna slightly step out of my current role of Massive Capital as investor relations, but I'm gonna build a completely new company just for land, right? For those who have heard my story, I've been doing land for over 5 years. That's how I started. I continue doing land. So land is where my heart is. I'm super excited for that. I will, of course, share more details about everything that is happening. If you're my investor, you're always gonna be my investor. You always have direct contact with me. She is gonna continue because she is me, she is you, and all of us are, here. As long as you guys keep showing up, I'm gonna be here. So super excited for that part. Remember, the first and the third Tuesday, I'm here with she, but the other 2 Tuesdays, Trevor is talking about everything about commercial real estate. So be sure to join him as well. And we have a sponsor, Skyline Title. Everybody who here is a real estate investor, so we know how important it is to have a title company who understands the investor side, and also we want to have a smooth transaction. So be sure to check them out. They have locations across the country, so look them up, check them out. A little bit about our events. We host events everywhere. We go wherever you are. We have a new event coming up in Houston. We're gonna do Pilates, so I'll send all the details next week. Just coming and doing Pilates, and then some healthy snacks and just networking, connecting with each other, building the purpose of helping, supporting, and inspiring each other. Remember that you are one connection away from a completely different life, so keep showing up. And then just a little bit different this time, why we invest in real estate. So instead of telling you why I invest in real estate, I want to open the floor and ask you, why are you here, right? Like, why do you want to learn about investing in real estate? So any volunteers, why real estate? Yes, please unmute yourself, Carolyn.
Hi, Jasmine. Well, I decided I did not like the watching the market go up and down, and it didn't make any sense to me. And I like real assets. So I happen to love real estate. I've loved real estate for a long time. I actually was a realtor for a while, but not now. Um, I invested in three syndications in Dallas, in Pennsylvania, and Las Vegas. I look forward to doing it again. I know things are a little difficult right now for a lot of properties. That's okay. As long as the teams are doing their best to protect the asset itself, I don't care so much about the distributions. I want the investment, the property to be healthy. So I think it'll come back, but I always love to hear what you have to say. Uh,
Absolutely. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. That was very, very good and very insightful because that's exactly right. We invest in real estate because if anything, we have the property. We can say like this is my property. Like I have people going to work every day to pay me, or I own this piece of land, right? So it's different. We can see it when it comes to stocks and other investments. We don't know, like, we can wake up one day and everything is gone, right? So that's the beauty about real estate that we can actually see, walk the property. We own the property, part of that property. So thank you so much. Anybody else? Why real estate? Elizabeth, you tell us a little bit about the tax side, all the tax benefits.
Investing in real estate, well, for different reasons, right? One is the generational wealth and legacy that you can leave for your family. Like what Carolyn was saying, it's not, you're taking fate into your own hands and working with a network of people who can help you navigate through, economic times. And then on from a tax standpoint, there's different things that you can do to strategize your tax liability, whether you want to, pay taxes now or pay taxes later, and how you can diversify your portfolio. Again, taking fate into your own hands and mitigating the risk for yourself and for your family in years to come.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We always say it doesn't matter how much money you make, but how much money you keep. So, Elizabeth is also CPA. So, if you want to talk to her, be sure to connect with her. All right, without more hesitation, I want to bring our speaker. I'm super excited. We spoke in an event, I think over 2 years ago, and I just love her energy, everything that she's doing. So she's finally here. So today's speaker is someone who has redefining what it means to live life on your own terms. Sarah Weaver is a real estate investor, author, and international speaker, and the founder of three successful businesses that serve real estate investors and agents across the country. She specializes in helping people build wealth through medium term rentals and out of state investing. Even sorry. She owns 20 rental units across 4 states, including 11 furnished rentals that she self-manages. Wow. While traveling the world full time. She has been in 56 countries on 7 continents running her businesses remotely. So I'm super excited to have Sarah Weaver. Thank you so much for being here. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to meet you all.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about your story. I have heard your story several times, but you've been traveling the world literally since 2019 and running in all these businesses. So tell us what inspired you, how that started. Take it on, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you guys, because this is a smaller group, please feel free to put questions in the chat. I'm pretty good at managing the chat, or even unmute yourself if you have a question. But let me start off by saying, like, I am just a girl. I grew up in the suburbs of Kansas City. My mom is a cleaning lady. My dad works for a construction company. And I grew up going to school with some pretty wealthy people. It was a public school that was like highly rated. And so my parents were smart to like move to that area so that I would be surrounded by, you know, good education. And one benefit that I don't think my parents or I realized at the time, but it was being surrounded by people that had money. Because I think one thing that it did was, well, it made me really envious and jealous. I don't want to act like I was, you know, wise beyond my years. But I think what it did, I can look back now and say that it raised my financial thermometer. So if you guys know what that means, give me a dollar sign in the chat if you have had any time in your life where you realize like, I need to raise my financial thermometer. That was something that like growing up in the, you know, suburbs of Kansas City gave to me. And for those of you that are not in the Midwest, no, I don't live like, I didn't grow up near like wheat farms. Okay. We had a Nordstrom 9 minutes away, and we had not one, but two Targets to go to within 10 minutes. It was definitely the burbs. And I've traveled the world, as Jasmine said. And one thing that I realize is that I lived my entire life, my childhood, being like, Kansas is so boring. This sucks. Why would my parents raise me here? And then you travel really to most any suburb of any city, and it's kind of all the same. Weather depending and culture depending, but it all kind of is similar. So it's very interesting knowing what I know now. And so I just mentioned that because I think when people hear my rental portfolio or all the travel, they're like, oh, this girl must be rich. Well, let me tell you, I call real estate just what my grandpa called farming. We call it redneck rich. So all my money is tied up in these properties. And so your girl is still doing credit card hacking to find these flights. I'm staying at friends' houses. I'm booking budget hotels because travel was my why. When people ask like why I invested in real estate, it was because I wanted to figure out how to travel and have freedom. And then we'll talk about today how that all kind of fell into place and I live the life that I have now.
Yeah, let's get into it, right? So tell us about the first property. What made you get into the midterm strategy and all that?
Yeah, I think that what's the most interesting is probably like property number 3. So I bought a house and I used the 3% down. And if you guys like numbers, I'll put some numbers in the chat. So the purchase price of my first property was 217,000. I put about 10 to 11,000 into it and a ton of sweat equity. Like I was Facebook marketplacing, I was painting, I was laying tile, I was doing everything that I could on my own. And once I was done with the renovation through like forced equity, the ARV was just shy of 300,000. So the ARV was 280. And what's really cool is that my PITI, and if somebody wants to spell that out for me while I type this, my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, it is today at 1596, so just shy of 1600. And so it was about 1400 when I first bought it. But what's great is that my rental on income on this is 3100. And so that very first deal was a really good deal. And I had a few different exit strategies. I could have flipped it. As you can see, it would have been a nice profit for a 27-year-old if I had wanted to flip it. But I knew I wanted to hold on to it as a rental because my thought was if I just buy a rental every 2 years, in 10 years, I'll have 5. And I think that that would help. And that was kind of it. I didn't have these big dreams of financial freedom through real estate or all the other like multi ventures that I have now. And so if you're sitting in this call and you're thinking like, yeah, I just want like 1 or 2 rentals, that was exactly where I was. I just thought I should buy one every 1 or 2 years because I thought it would take me that long to come up with the down payment. And then my eyes opened to all the possibilities that are within real estate. So that was my first property. My second property was a duplex, and I did the same thing. I did owner occupied, 3% down, and the purchase price was actually less. I think it was 183. And so what was really interesting about that one is that my PITI, I believe, is 1187, and just one tenant. So rent from one unit is 1200. And so I could live in the other unit for free, but your girl is frugal. So I got a roommate paying me $600 when I was living in that one. Now I and that roommate have moved out and I'm getting for $1,300 for the rent from the other unit. So as you can see, like time is really my best friend with all of this, because the PITI, sure, it goes up over time with some property taxes, but the rent significantly goes up over time. So that's when I started to realize, like, oh, this is like, I was smart, and now maybe I shouldn't wait 2 years to buy all of these. And so that's when I started looking at, okay, what else can I do? Can I do a 10% down vacation home loan? Can I essentially house hack every year? Like, how many times are they going to let me do this? And that's when I discovered looking into furnished rentals. And so my very first MTR was part of a fourplex. The fourplex I purchased for $320. That was the purchase price. My PITI on that is 2107. And my rental income from one MTR is 1875. But the fun thing is we get to times that by 4. Oh, wow. You guys, Zoom, I didn't know it did this. I'm typing a mathematical equation and it put in the answer for me.
Oh,
I just learned something in Zoom. All right.
yeah.
So I was like typing that out. That was amazing. And so I'm getting 7,500 from that fourplex as rental income. And my PITI, or principal interest tax and insurance, is 2,100. And so I decided to buy, thank you, Jasmine. And so I decided to buy the property next door. So I actually own that building next door. It does the exact same thing. And so that was kind of when I started to realize, like, oh, I'm really onto something with some of these numbers. And so I'll take a breath there. What questions do you guys have? Oh, Carolyn, I think you're muted. Okay.
I don't have a question, but
Oh, okay.
but I love that. I've been looking for something like that, so that's great. A duplex, fourplex, and I think after 4, we have the option of taking the appreciation up front, all the deductions, so that's an advantage too. But I own my house. I'm thinking of selling it. And I would look for a good investment like that. So I think that is smart, and it's great that you were able to do that.
Sue's asking, where were these properties? So the first 2 are in Kansas City, and then the next 2 are in Omaha.
And that's also important, right? Like just going to secondary markets. Sometimes like we hear like, yeah, go to the metro and Houston, Texas, all this, but just exploring, like there is deals everywhere and you're proof of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I think, yeah, that's one of the things that a lot, you mentioned that the midterm rentals are one of the most underrated strategies in real estate right now, because the sexy thing is like, yeah, go commercial, go multifamily, go get the big fish. But when it boils down to the numbers, like how much am I taking home, it's a really good strategy. So tell us a little bit more about why do you believe the midterms rentals is such a powerful play in today's high interest, high inflation market?
Absolutely. Well, I think that the midterm rental is really nice because you're getting more income than you would as a long-term rental. So for example, that fourplex that I just put the details in the chat, if that 1-bedroom unit was a long-term rental, I'm looking at $750 a month in rent. And then for midterm, I can get 1875 all the way up to 2200. And so because I like to be conservative, I'm telling you guys 1875. But I just rented one of those bedrooms out for 2230 last month. And I mean, just those numbers alone, and then you multiply it by 8 because I now own 2 fourplexes. I'm running all 8 units as an MTR. Those are really big numbers, right? And I think it's really important that people realize that these MTRs are also really nice because they don't violate a lot of short-term rental laws that cities are coming up with, because my guests are staying on average 87 nights. And so I'm allowed to have them. And then one of my favorite things about a guest that stays, let's call it 90 nights, they're quiet for about 75 of them. And so, like, can I see some nods? We would love some more quiet tenants. They're not constantly needing something or they're mad about this. They really are pretty quiet for almost the entire stay. I call them like professional tenants because they are used to going from MTR to MTR. And so they tend to be less needy than some of my short-term rental
So
stays.
who are your tenants?
Anyone moving to the area for either an internship, apprenticeship, travel medical professionals, or moving to the area and they're not ready to buy their forever home. People do move to Nebraska. Okay, I saw we had one person from Wisconsin, but I'm sure we have some people in here like, girl, nobody moves to Nebraska. Yes, they do. And then they stay in my properties. And so there's actually a lot of reasons that people need a furnished stay. Unfortunately, longer hospital stays, either they or a loved one are in the hospital. And so now they're either going through rehab if it was them, or even just, their spouse is in. And so those are some of the types of tenants that stay in my units.
Absolutely. Oh, I also hear like insurance people who their home flooded or something, so insurance finds a hotel or one of your properties to put on while the insurance covers everything and the home gets rehab and all the fun stuff. So
Exactly, Jasmine. Yeah. So what you're talking about is called displaced insurance policy holders. And what does it mean is they have an insurance policy, so they're insured and they're displaced from their home. And so as you can imagine, in the Midwest, we have tornadoes. And so that happens quite often. We have hail, trees that fall over in, heavy storms, and people are no longer allowed to live in their house. And so they need a furnished rental. And then I think anyone that's dealt with contractors, give me an exclamation point in the chat if you know just as well as I do that renovations never take as long as they say they're going to. And so, their loss is your win because it usually means these displaced insurance policyholders, they're living in your house for, 6 months to a year, if not longer, while their house is being repaired. And the rent is coming from the insurance company. And so, less late payments, less evictions. This is a really steady, paycheck coming from these rental insurance companies.
absolutely. No, that sounds amazing. And I have, I want to get into the system side of managing all this portfolio. But before that, Tiffany has a question. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask Tiffany?
Yes. So my question is, so I'm brand new to real estate. I don't know a whole lot. I do know that it can be lucrative. And my goal with it is to leave something behind for my children, something that they can have as income as well. What advice would you give to someone who is brand new to real estate? Like, where should I start with buying something, or do I have to start it? I know you said your first property was at 200,000. Do I
Mhm.
have to start there? Could I go lower? What advice would you have?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing that I would do is I would figure out what loan products are available to me. And why that's so important is I'm sure, like most of us, we only have so much money. And so when I was starting out, I had about, I think I had $20,000 saved up, which at 27, I was really proud of myself. I was like really excited that I had this money that not only I had saved, but I also could part ways with if I needed to. And so for me, I did the math backwards. So I was like, okay, I know that I want something that I can renovate because I believe in, being able to force appreciation by fixing it. And I had at least, YouTube University and my dad in my back pocket who's worked in construction his whole life. And I'm a Midwest girl, so I'm not afraid of getting dirty and learning how to do something. And I'm always like, okay, if boys can do it, like we can figure this out. So I knew nothing would be too hard. And so I wanted something that I could renovate. So then I had to, use that 20,000 not only for my down payment, but also my renovation budget. And so when I learned that I didn't have to put 20% down or 25% down, and I could put as little as 3% down, that was how I was able to build my budget all the way up to 200,000. Because I realized, oh, wow, my down payment is only going to be like $7,000. Now I can afford to both put money down and do this renovation. And so I think learning your different loan products is really important. The great thing about this, Tiffany, is you don't need to go read a book. You don't have to like become a mortgage lender. You could just get on the phone with a lender. It's their job to educate us on their loan products, and they get paid when you buy something. And so if you find a good lender, which I'm sure between Jasmine and I, we have plenty that we can recommend, that I think is one of the best phone calls that you can make. And don't ever feel like you need to know something before you ask a question. I think that my ability to ask questions, and I'm never afraid to look stupid, because why would I know about all of these loan products? Why would I know anything about real estate investing? So you're already doing the right thing, Tiffany, by asking really good questions. I think one of the best people to talk to is a mortgage lender. You don't have to, have them pull your credit. You're not quite at that stage yet. But you just want to hop on the phone with them and figure out like, what are my options? If you figure out that, okay, I am not willing to pick up and move, I don't want a house hack, I don't want to do an owner occupied loan, then you're going to find out that you likely need 20 to 25% down. And then that will start to build out your budget. And so there are plenty of properties for well less than 200,000. My only thing that I wish I had known earlier on was when you buy houses like in the 50,000, 100,000, you're going to have a different type of tenant live in that house. And sometimes during the turnover, which a lot of landlords don't talk about, when a tenant moves out and they leave the house a mess, even if they were good tenants, they paid on time, everything was fine. If you're having to spend, $4,000 to $7,000 to turn the unit, well, there goes all of your cash flow from that year. And so it's really hard to ever get ahead if your cash flow is going out the door every turnover. And so that's my only hesitation with some of those lower price properties. I know tons of people that have great, experience with them, but I also think that sometimes going for a nicer property in a nicer area can lend itself to a better experience as a landlord.
Thank
You
you so
so
much.
much.
That was amazing. So now let's talk a little bit about, all the systems and the tools that we need to run a portfolio, especially from across the world. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are tech illiterate or tech is not your friend, don't worry. You can do a notebook and pen and paper and your phone. Like that really is possible to be a landlord and do it this way. As you get better with technology, there is ways to make your life easier. And so here are the tools that I really like. I'm a huge tech nerd. I thankfully pick up things pretty quickly. And I had to, because as you've mentioned, Jasmine, I'm self-managing all 20 units, and I'm doing this from afar. And so the biggest thing that I recommend is never give out your phone number. So the first thing I got was Google Voice. It's a free way to have a different phone number. That's what goes on any of my rental signs, anything on my website, anything related to tenant applications. That way I can choose if it rings to my phone or if it doesn't. And so, and then when life gets really good and you get what's called a VA, a virtual assistant, which I have now, then they can answer that phone for you. No matter where you are, no matter where they are, they can answer the phone from anywhere in the world. And that has been amazing. As far as where I'm keeping everything, it's a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of Google Sheets. I keep everything inside the Google Drive so that I can access it anywhere, even if, I lost my computer on an airplane, which I have done, I've left it in the seat. Well, no problem, because then I can log into Google Drive from anything, from another computer, from a tablet, from a phone. So I really like the Google Drive system. Eventually I started using, different ways to collect rent. There's apartments.com. There's, oh my gosh, what did I use recently? Cozy became apartments.com. What was the other one that I used? It's eluding me. But then I think my favorite tool is online banking. And so when you are investing all over the world and all over the US, you need to have access to your bank account no matter where you are. And so I highly, highly recommend Baseline. They are made by investors for investors. I think that banking piece is really important because if you're commingling your funds, it's really easy to be doing something wrong, and it makes it really hard come tax season. And so for anyone that filed for extension, yesterday was our tax deadline. So yesterday was calls between my tax strategist and my bookkeeper and my CPA. And so thankfully I use Baselane and it keeps everything a lot more organized. And what else have I? I use Hospitable to manage my furnished rentals. It's called a PMS system or property management system. I don't necessarily recommend it until you have probably more than 7 units, furnished units. At the beginning, I just don't think you need to spend the money. And that's why I always like to start off this conversation with there's nothing better than a pen and paper and your phone, because you're already paying for your phone and a pen and paper are free. Because one thing I hate, Jasmine, is I hate seeing, real estate investors collect all of these expenses. It's not really the point of us investing in real estate. And so make sure that what you're using isn't costing more unless it's making your life way.
Absolutely. All these expenses add up. And just like you say, eventually, yeah, we want to have the BA and we have all the digital marketing and all the expenses, right? Of course, we want to get there, but it's super, we got to be very careful on managing the budgets. And, one of the mistakes that I made, I always talk about, just because, let's say, your portfolio brings you 10,000 a month, right? That doesn't mean that is cash flow that is bringing to Jasmine, right? That's my portfolio cash flow. And I had the mistake to spend the money as if it was mine. And of course, the business at one point was like, wait, where all that money went, right? Well, I was using that as to cover my personal expenses. So that's, one of the things, yeah, we have a lot of tools, but also how do we separate our personal expenses from the portfolio, right? And that's very common when you are self-employed.
Yeah. And it's really easy to do your books when you have a bank account dedicated just to that property, because ideally the only thing coming in and out is the mortgage comes out and the rent comes in, and maybe you have utilities, then you pay your bookkeeper, whatever expenses. But I mean, a good, long-term rental shouldn't have that many transactions each month, and it's really easy to reconcile. And then you can hire a bookkeeper, and then your life gets so much better. And then they do it for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit also this community that you have built about real estate investor travelers. You take people to travel around the world with you, which is the best part, right? You're traveling, but you're not traveling alone. So tell us a little bit about that community that you have built.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have 2 things. I have one where I work with people who want to grow their real estate portfolio. And so we work together. It's a year-long program. And I'm really helping people walk through, like Tiffany, that was an amazing question. Like, where do I start? Well, not only do I introduce you to the lender that I recommend, but I'm also going to give you the questions that I would recommend you ask the lender. When they give you a rate sheet, you can bring that rate sheet back to me and I'll explain all of it. And I'll go through it with you. And what I like about the year-long program is that I've helped a lot of investors go from 0 to 1 or 0 to 3 or even 0 to 6 units in the first 3 months. Well, wow. Then for all of us that own properties, then you have a different set of questions and challenges. You're like, oh, wait, what do I do when this happens? Or, hey, I just had a pretty crazy tenant situation. What do I do? And so the community just really acts as your lifeline when you have these questions. And I work with investors that now are in a place where, they're high income earners, they have a real estate portfolio, but they're really needing that tax strategy piece. And that's a whole nother piece. I love what you said earlier. It's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep. And so I think that tax strategy piece is really important. And sometimes it feels like PhD level education to understand all this stuff. And so it's really nice to have a community that you can ask these questions. And so that's my mentorship program. I'll put some information in the chat about it. And then for anyone that's listening to the recording of this, you can go to my website, sarahdweaver.com. And then the travel piece is actually a different company. And how this was born is I had so many people following me on Instagram or coming up to me at conferences, and they're like, where are you going next? And I really was trying to be as humble as I can, but I'm like, well, I just got back from Antarctica, and next month I'm going to Brazil, even though I was just there. And I realized how ridiculous I sounded. Like, I want to be very clear that like I never sought out to be that girl. Like, I wasn't like, I can't wait to collect rent from tenants while I'm in Thailand. But that is my reality. That is what I do. Is I will go spend a month in Portugal or a month in Guatemala, just because I can, not because I'm buying property there, or I have some amazing Latino lover that we're waiting for that to happen. But I'm really just wanting to live a really big life, and for me, that looks like travel. And so what I find is that a lot of people are asking, like, how are you doing this? And I would spend hours, Jasmine, like, showing them how to credit card hack, showing them the best places to go. Oh, it's this time of year. I recommend this because of this festival or the weather. And then guess how many actually went on the trip? None of them. And I was like, okay, not only did you like get me excited and now I'm invested in your vacation or your trip, but you're also wasting my time. And so I was like, what do you guys need? Do you need me just to plan it for you? And they were like, oh, would you? Like, I don't know. And so I kind of went back to the drawing board of like, how do I want to spend my time? Because of course, as a serial entrepreneur, I saw dollar signs. I was like, oh, here's another way to make money. But I had to ask myself, like, is that what I want to do? Like, do I want to plan your trip? Like, if your flights are delayed, do I want to be on the phone with the airline? I don't want to be a travel agent. But what do I love more than anything? I love bringing people together. And like in another life where money didn't matter, I'd probably be a camp counselor, because I just like love that piece of it. I love the mindset. I love the get to know you. I like Tiffany, I wanted to ask you 9 follow-up questions so that I can help you even more. And what's really cool is when you get to spend 3 to 10 days away from your normal life together, you get to have those intimate conversations. And that I think is where real change comes from. And it doesn't hurt that we're like doing cool shit, like on an African safari or hiking in Patagonia or drinking wine in the south of Italy. That part's really nice. But what I don't want to overshadow is just the connections that you make when you do go on one of these trips with people that want to live a big life too. And I think that's one thing I love about the real estate community is no matter what vehicle of real estate we're wanting, the real estate is just the vehicle, but freedom is the destination. And for a lot of you, it's to spend time doing what you want to do, whether it's spend more time with your kids or less time with your kids, no judgment, or have no kids like me. Like whatever it is, I think people want more freedom. And I think that's what makes these trips really special is you get some really interesting people together doing really.
Absolutely, because all of them are like-minded, right? Like they already, as real estate investors, entrepreneurs, we have a different way to think and to do things, and it's important to have friends who get it.
Yeah.
And of course, when you are in a trip for 10 days, you build like connections with people who understand what you're doing with your life and above, the real estate portfolio and everything. So that's super, super amazing.
And
And
it's a write-off, you guys. Like this is a business expense. So who doesn't want to like check off a bucket list experience, like a cruise to Antarctica, and then have every dollar of that trip, even the gear that you buy specifically for that trip, your flight, the hotels, the trip itself, it's all a business expense. Like I couldn't think of something better.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And a follow-up question to that will be like, how do you transition from building the community to monetizing it, right? And how do you start monetizing the community?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I started off like a lot of coaches. I worked one-on-one with people. And so I worked one-on-one with real estate investors, a lot of real estate agents who wanted to invest in real estate. And I charged whatever I charged back then. It was, for 2 calls a month, and we would get on the call. And what I realized is I was having the same conversation with Carolyn, the same conversation with Elizabeth, and I was like, we should just get all these people in the room together, because and some of them were asking really good questions, and some of them I was like, you should be asking me more questions. So then they even benefited from each other, because 2 people in the group asked really good questions that are like, oh, I wish I had thought to ask that. And so you also benefit from that group dynamic. And then I wasn't repeating the same thing over and over. And so I really just grew from one-on-one coaching to the group format.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Any questions, lady? I have a couple of questions. Carolyn, go for it.
Sarah, I'm wondering, with all your wonderful travel, because I love travel too, did you ever consider investing outside the country?
Yes, great question, Carolyn. Absolutely. What for me I've found is, because I'm still in that phase where I want cash flow. And so as you saw from just the numbers that I shared with you guys, some of this cash flow is really good. And what I found is that it's really hard to get the same cash on cash return abroad, because you can't use our wonderful loan products that we have here in the US.
Good point.
With that being said, I would love to get to a place financially where I could invest to buy essentially residency. So there's programs all over the world, whereas if you invest a certain amount of money, then you can get permanent residency or some type of residency that could then eventually be citizenship. Now that for me would be a huge benefit for numerous reasons. I don't think we have to go into them. And when I'm talking about those numbers, just to put some, figures to it, like I'm interested in Portugal or Spain. Well, you could use, let me say what I'm about to say, and let me show you like a back way to it. But you need to invest up to 350,000 or more. And that's your investment. Like that's your down payment, right? And some ways around it would be to use a HELOC. So you mentioned that you have your house. So you could get a home equity line of credit on your house and then use that cash to go invest in Portugal. But then, as you can imagine, that's leveraged money. So you're paying an interest rate on it. And so it is hard to get the cash on cash return that I'm looking for. If I was further in my financial journey, it would be a hell yes to so many investments abroad that I've seen. And so if anyone listening to this or anyone in the call is there financially, absolutely. Like it would be a great idea to not only find something that you're interested in for you to visit, but also can make sense financially. But unfortunately, I'm just getting way better cash on cash return in the Midwest. And so I have some financial numbers that I want to hit. I want my cash flow, pure profit, to be at 20,000 a month. And once I'm there, then I would like to start looking abroad.
Awesome. That's amazing. That was a great question, Carolyn. And
I had a question.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah. You mentioned you bought properties in Nebraska. Why Nebraska? You live in Kansas. How did you do that?
Yeah. And when I bought in Nebraska, I actually lived in New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So here's what I did was I bought in Kansas because I grew up here. It made me feel a little bit better knowing the area, but I actually wasn't living in Kansas. I was living in Denver, Colorado. And previous to that, I was living in South Korea. Previous to that, I was living in Argentina. And so I hadn't lived in Kansas since high school. But when I started learning about investing, it just made sense to invest somewhere where the purchase price could be, under 250. And then you guys saw that rent number. Like I rent that house for $3,000 and my mortgage is $1,600. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. I also, this is very important, I had a real estate agent that understood investing. So I call these investor-friendly agents. and he was sending me deals. And so that agent, kind of that lead dried up. And then I had an agent in Omaha, Nebraska who was sending me leads. And that is essentially why I ended up buying in Omaha, is I was like, wow, these numbers are amazing. And then, but I didn't have a contractor. I didn't have a painter. I didn't have I didn't have any of these contacts. A lot of those contacts came from investor friendly agents and other investors. So I would join like Omaha real estate investing Facebook communities. And then I would search in those Facebook communities because somebody already has asked for a plumber, right? You don't need to ask for a plumber. You can just go to the search icon within that group and find a plumber within that group. And that was how I was finding my contractors. I had never been to Des Moines when I bought my properties. And I've only been back twice. I just went 2 weekends ago for the second time. But otherwise, in a perfect world, I'm never going to my property.
Wow, that's amazing. I live in Dallas, Texas, and I like to find properties only within 30 minutes from me. So that's very brave of you to find something so far away, and then you're managing it remotely. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes it doesn't feel brave when you get a call from your contractor and you're like, no, I did not know that the grass was up to there. Like, I guess I need to fire my lawn guy. But these are things that, I mean, I want to be very clear. Calls like that, like a broken dishwasher or a leaky sink, those calls used to devastate. But what I realized is that I needed to change my mindset and realize that like this is a business and I'm not going to be in this business very long if I do let these things upset me. And so you better believe that I laugh a lot. It helps also when those contractors are messaging you and you're like in Thailand on a beach. So that also helps. But sometimes you are like in the Target, waiting in line for the checkout. And so my life isn't always, beaches and vacations. I do also like live a normal life too.
Yeah, and one of the things that I find personally harder on either doing renovations is dealing with contractors, because a lot of them, they will give you an estimate, and let's pretend they are not trying to steal from you, but when you start opening walls or plumbing and all that, you find a lot of surprises, things that you didn't budget, and I personally find it really hard. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, they will tell you, "Oh, we need to do a full rehab here. We need to demolish. We need to do all this," and everything adds up, right? So we talked about the cost before, but how do you deal with contractors when, first of all, you haven't seen the property, so you don't know if they are, adding layers of work that you have no idea, or two, if they are just, their prices are completely off.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think having an investor friend in the market is key. And so I'm networking. So I have other investors who invest in Omaha that I can shoot a bid to, and I can say, hey, is this reasonable? I can ask my plumber, hey, do you have an electrician that you recommend that's not going to rip me off? And a lot of this, it just like anything, it's a people game, right? Like you have to be good with people. And you have to also use your brain. So I had a recent repair and I called around, and the cheapest guy was also available same day. Well, ladies, we're not going to hire him. Okay. Like, yes, that sounds great, but you're going to pay for it later. And I think that's something with real estate investing I've definitely learned is like, you're going to pay for it either way. It's just a matter of, am I going to pay for it now and have it done right? Or am I going to go with the cheapest person and then it's going to have to get fixed later? And I'm always thinking like, if the unit is vacant right now and it is better to just deal with it right now, and there's money in the bank account. I think that really is a huge piece of my investing that's changed over the years is 3 years after cash flowing $1,000 a month, you should have money in the bank. And so while you don't want to be frivolous and you don't want to go with the most expensive contractor bid, I also think it's really nice because the money's there and that's what the money's for. And so that's, I think, really.
Absolutely. Vanessa, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry I had to come in late because I was in a work call, but the very tiny bit that I was able to catch on, I'm so grateful for. Thank you so much for all of the knowledge and all of the like sharing your amazing journey. Like even just a tiny bit that I was able to catch on, I'm so super grateful for. I love the background of traveling. That's one of my biggest goals in life as well. So really quick question on that. I would love to know what's your favorite place that you have traveled to, and then another question that it's more related to the topic, I guess, would be if you have any recommendations of maybe writers or authors that you really like that have really helped you in business or in life in general.
Ooh, that's a great question. Yes. So I'll tackle the travel question first. As you can imagine, I probably get asked this question a lot. I'll admit to you all, I'm back on the dating scene, and it's like the number one question that everyone asks in the dating apps is they're like, what's your favorite country? And so here's my candid answer, which I think is a good answer, is my favorite food is Japan and Thailand. One of the invested adventure trips that we did was actually a 10-day food tour in Japan, and the food is unbelievable. So definitely for that. For nature, it would be Banff, Canada, or New Zealand, like the best nature you could ever see. For people and like just like the most fun that I've ever had would be Mexico and the Philippines. Like
Yay.
absolutely the best. I've lived in Mexico City for about 6 months, like across the last 5 years, and I absolutely love Mexico City. And let me think. Oh, probably two of the most underrated places in the world that I think people should be talking about more is Slovenia. There's a place called Lake Bled, Slovenia, and I felt like I was living in like a princess fairy tale. And then the other would be Lake Atitlan, Guatemala. It is a dream. I love Guatemala, and it's so amazing. So there's my list.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so
You're
much for all of, I'm gonna put everything on my bucket list. Thank you so much.
excellent. And then for books, man, I'm a very avid reader. And I think that like if I could encourage anyone to do anything, it would be to read books, but then put the book down and do what it says. And I think that that's something that I was really good at, was I would read a book about real estate and then I would go do the thing. And so I'm always hesitant to give book recommendations because I don't want to delay you guys taking action. But I think some of my favorite book for entrepreneurs or anyone like wanting to live differently is called The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And I read that in my early 20s, and it was life-changing. It's called The 4 Hour Work Week. And no, I don't work 4 hours a week. I still work more than 4 hours a week. But this book like changed my life. And so I hope that it does the same thing for you guys as well. Would be The 4 Hour Work Week. Another really good book is The Psychology of Money. I think it's a really good, gosh, there's so many good things in it. But if you have a bad relationship with money, or you think about money too much, which I'm guilty of, or you think money's going to fix your problems, like whatever your relationship with money, I think that this book is going to help a lot. And just like, yeah, it's fascinating. It's one of the best books I've read on money. And then of course I do have to mention that I wrote a book. It was published by Bigger Pockets. What I like about how the publisher structured my book is it could be your first real estate book to pick up. So Tiffany, it'd be a great book for you to read because there are chapters explaining exactly how to calculate cash on cash return or how to do the lending piece. If you're an experienced investor, you can skip those chapters because you likely already know that. But my book is called The 30-Day Stay. And I can give you guys, if you guys go to ilovemtr.com and you put in your email, I can give you a 10% off promo code for that book as well. But I hope that that's a huge help. But like I said, don't read my book if you're not going to take action. And so
Thank you so much.
Taking action.
Yeah, I think the taking action is really, really important.
Awesome. Well, we are just on time. Look at us. Perfect, just on time. I definitely want to thank you for being here. I know it's been over a year since we spoke in the event and then stay connected. So make sure you follow Zara. She has amazing content. We've been on Instagram friends ever since. So be sure to follow her, but also be sure to connect with her. Just book a call. Ladies, like all the speakers that we bring, everybody's so generous to give us their time here, but also to offer one-on-one calls, right? Like it doesn't matter where you are, like just show up, take advantage. Like they can tell you something that is gonna completely change or, connect you with somebody who, you never know. Just take advantage of those calls, book a call with her. You don't have nothing to lose. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You have a good time and she talks about some experiences, some traveling experiences, like just you don't have nothing to lose. So be sure to connect. Sarah, thank you so much for being here. The last question is, what does she builds, owns, invest mean to you?
Yeah, I think that, oh, I don't know why I'm like getting emotional thinking about it, but I think that growing up in the Midwest, and I'm sure a lot of you, your families have told you that like other things are really important, like finding a husband, getting a good career, making babies. And for me, like she builds, she owns, she invests. I think it tells people that we don't have to wait. You don't have to wait until there's a ring on your finger or when you feel smart enough or rich enough or ready. Let me tell you guys, you never feel ready, like ever. Ready is a myth. It's not real. And I just hope that people don't wait. Don't wait to book the flight. Don't wait to do something scary. Definitely don't wait for somebody to give you permission because they're not coming. Like nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to tell us how to do this. You just have to figure it out. And trust me, you won't have the answers about 80% of the time, and it still works out. Like you will figure it out if you want to. And so for me, I think what you're building, Jasmine, is really, really important because we should be building something no matter where we are in our life or in our marital status or whatever it might be. And so I hope that you guys don't wait.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah. Well, it was a pleasure having you. It was amazing. We learned so much from you. I love the energy since the first time that I hear you speak, through all this time, you always bring the energy. And I think that's why you have built this amazing community because people love your energy. People feel good around you, and you have done amazing things, and you are very open, very generous to share. Like, here are the tools, don't wait and find out. Like, here is everything that I have done. So, thank you so much for being so generous. I look forward to traveling with you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you so, so much. And if you are investing with a partner, all of my trips are co-ed. I do cater to a lot of couples. My community is also co-ed. And so I really want to bring as many people along on the adventure as we can. And so if you guys have any questions, I've put my Instagram and my email in the chat. If you message me on Instagram or email, I will get to you. Jasmine will tell you it'll take a day, but I will get to you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. I really appreciate it. Bye,
My
guys.
pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Have a good one.